Australia records COVID milestone. 1 week with no new locally acquired COVID cases.
Here's a summary of the article.
Australia has reported its first week without a locally transmitted coronavirus case for the first time in more than 9 months, according to Health Minister Greg Hunt. The major milestone comes as social distancing restrictions continue to be eased and Queensland announced it would on Saturday open its border to New Zealand travellers. Today marks the first 7-day period without any cases of community transmission since February 29. Chief Health Officer, Dr. Jeanette Young advised me late last night that New Zealand is good to go, she told Today on Friday morning. So, visitors coming in from New Zealand from 1 a.m. tomorrow are welcome into Queensland. Only one more internal border needs to reopen, the one between South Australia and Western Australia, which Premier Mark McGowan has promised to do on Christmas Day. Deaths in the United States as a result of coronavirus reached 3,054 on Thursday local time, while hospitalizations also hit a record high of 107,248, according to the COVID Tracking Project.
This post received a score of 6,200, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
It's weird living here. It's like COVID doesn't exist but it does, so we still do the COVID-required functions but life is normal.
Agreed. I feel like here in AU's we're in a strange little bubble of safety, very isolated from the world, and can only watch on in horror and disbelief as COVID-19 rips through the rest of the world. It's a surreal experience.
That bubble of safety is partially because of our geography, but also because we made the decision and put in the effort to actually deal with the virus before we got as bad as everyone else.
My opinion, the major reasons, geography, both being an island and that it initially hit in our summer. Second, we have a national health system for both treatment and diagnosis of COVID. Thirdly, we had strong state governments. I think all states did a good job in the end, even the corrupt koala killer regardless of her attempts to politicse it. Scummo did probably the best thing he could have done, which was to effectively write blank checks and do absolutely nothing.
Scotty did get his lackeys to undermine the Victorian lockdown though, and then take credit for low COVID cases in Parliament as though they hadn't been criticising the state the whole time. So he didn't do absolutely nothing. He also did those media shots of making his Bunnings stuff.
Big shout out to our state premiers, territory chief ministers, the chief health officers, all their teams, and every private citizen who did their part. Big fuck you to the Commonwealth government, privatized aged care facilities, and News Corp. No beers for you.
Ken Oath mate.
For a moment I went, who's Ken? But then I realized.
Checking in from the US right now, this seems completely impossible to believe.
Australia is in a good position to deal with pandemic. We are an island. Our population centres are geographically isolated. We're a bunch of rule followers.
The UK is an island, and we have royally fucked since day one. Sad face.
Australia got lucky and then it didn't and then it got lucky again because people understood the gravity of the situation and played their part to where they are today. It's a shame the government has snuck in Orwellian legislation to fuck us during this pandemic.
Having a population understand the importance of working together isn't really luck.
I think it's exactly this. Aside from a few nut jobs, I think the general consensus was that we all had to chip in and do our bit for a time. A temporary giving up of our privileges and freedoms for our family, neighbors and nation. And here we are about to approach Christmas with an amount of freedom that makes the news I read feel really out of sync with what so many other places are experiencing. I'm bloody proud of what we achieved.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.